that this is a work of art that was contributed by the great-granddaughter of our founder. Susanna Bixby Bryan is the founder, was our founder. And this, the rattlesnake path was designed and overseen the installation of by a woman named Judy Bonzi, who is Susanna Bixby Bryant's great-granddaughter.
Wow.
And she holds an MFA from Claremont Graduate University and was on our board of trustees for a while. She now lives in Maine, so we don't see her very much, which is too bad because she's a delightful person. Notice the eyes. These are obsidian. That they went in last. So for a while, the snake had no eyes. And I interacted with a family today that had found the forked tongue down there, and they followed the tongue out, and they really had enjoyed it.
That's
so
a great addition.
It is. It's been in for a long time. My husband got off a great joke, which is that he figured that it was going to cause some heart attacks in pilots as they went over. Oh my God! This is the biggest rattlesnake on Earth. Yeah. So it's kind of fun, and there's a rattle at the end when we get to the other end. We can see that, yeah. I love these. I call them icebergs. I don't think artists like that. Do artists mind when people nickname their...
I don't think so, and I think that Mary has traveled a lot, and she's studied glaciers. So I think that although she doesn't call, I mean, she does, she references it by saying memories of vanishing things, that was sort of her intent with these. And
careful there, don't step on the plants.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what's wonderful about these is you, even though they're not as big as an actual glacier, they still have...
They're big.
They're big, and they still have this real presence about them.
They definitely do, yeah. You must have a huge kiln down there that people can use, that your artists can use.
We do, and I think that's one of the appeals of the studio, is that artists who are working a little larger have some place to fire their work. So yeah, it's been great having Mary. She's one of our resident artists in the ceramic studio and has been with us for quite some time.
That's terrific. I know that Janelle Lewis said that that's what limits the size of her sculptures, is how large.
You do them in parts.
Yeah, is how, then you can put them back together, yeah. Like I think the Lucindas are like that.
Exactly. So she was somewhat limited in that when we get to those pieces.
And I think that originally one of these was supposed to go somewhere else at the garden, but I think it's great that they're all here in Fays Meadow, which is a relatively rare place in our garden where you can get this much of a sight line. And I think it's great that they're all, you can kind of scan around and see all of them together.
In the glazing.
Yeah. What causes one to be like that one's darker blue green? Is that just the glaze that she put on it?
Yeah, or the thickness of the glaze. But yeah, there's definitely ways to modulate that color.
Yeah.
So, and I love the little elements at the top.
I do too. I do too. You can stare at these for a very long time.
And see more of them. I don't know that you see different, but you definitely see more of them as you walk around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And some of them have little holes in them, which is a lot of fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit more about this garden in particular.
Well, this garden we call Fays Meadow. A volunteer who was here for many, many years, Faye McGartland, one of the most intrepid women you would ever have the honor of meeting. She passed away probably 10 years ago, but way, way, way into her 80s, people would see her red Subaru up in like Lone Pine or Big Pine, and she was up there by herself camping and, looking at plants and just being an outdoors person. She was absolutely terrific, and she loved wildflowers. And she, at some point, gave us a little bit of money to install this wildflower garden. To be entirely candid, a wildflower garden is one of the most challenging kinds of gardens to keep looking good, because wildflowers come up in the spring, and then by June or so, they look like dried down nothing. And so we've actually modified it a little bit by planting in these sunflowers, which are perennials. They last, and actually they're in flower for most of the time. One of the fun things is that the ground squirrels climb these things to get to the flowers, and every now and then you see one that's kind of alive with ground squirrel action.
Which activates the whole field.
Yeah, they bend them over, yeah. So it's great, and some year we actually planted quite a bit of seed in here, But this year has been such a dry year, unfortunately, that
You seem to be having more of those. How does the gardens deal with that?
well, now we're two out of the last 4 have been dry, and two out of the last 5 have been dry, and 3 have been fairly wet. So we're still doing relatively okay compared to what we were doing a few years earlier when we went through a series in a row of very, very dry years.
Right, it was when I came to Southern California.
Right, exactly, yeah. So it's not great, but you know, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So we just really try to work with what nature presents us with
And those challenges.
make the best of it. And we do some watering, you know, especially of relatively newly planted things.
To compensate.
Yeah, just in at certain times of year, like starting about now, our garden staff will be doing a bit of watering to make up for the fact that it's not raining, and it's still last year in April, 2020 in April, we got 5 inches of rain over the course of the month, and this month we've had 0. So
Well, I was here for one of them at the opening
you were, yeah.
when it was pouring.
Here's the rattle, isn't that fun?
That is fabulous. What a lovely way to end this walk.
Yeah, I like to point that out to people.
So tell me about this garden.
Yeah, so this is a part of our garden that is planted to the desert, as you can see from all the cacti and the Joshua trees. Those are actually baby Joshua trees.
And how big will those get?
They can get probably half again taller, but also much more branched. I can't promise you that those individuals will do that here, because Joshua trees have their own idea about how they want to grow. And so eventually in time they will tell us what they want to do as mature plants. But it just was the natural place for Jonas's small evolution 8 here, given that the pieces kind of look like the base of the Joshua
They really
trees
do
to me.
mimic that.
Yeah, these things are so organic. They're very botanical, and they just I think they're just perfect for this spot. And I like the way it's either growing or getting smaller, one or the other.
Depending on which way you might approach the piece.
Yes.
And he's really an interesting guy. He's lives half the time in LA and part-time in Berlin, and he's done performance work and sculpture and installation pieces. And I love the fact that you can't tell whether it's diminishing or growing.
Yeah.
And as you get closer to them in other settings, you really get a sense of, you know, him touching every inch of the clay, because he sits and it's almost meditative in a way that he pinches all of these layers.
That, yeah. And you know, evolution goes both ways. In some cases, evolution yields larger things, and in some cases, evolution yields smaller things. Like, did you know that when elephants get out on islands, they get smaller over evolutionary time?
Because they have less space.
That's the idea, is that there's less of a resource base for them. On the other hand, small animals get bigger. So when mice and things like that get out onto islands, they get bigger. So it can go either way. It's kind of fun. Yeah. So I like the fact that you can't really predict or understand which way it's going. Would this have gotten fired as each of the columns as a piece, or must have been, or would the individual flakes sort of get fired separately?
I'm not sure if that largest one is all one piece, but it could have been fired as one section. That it wouldn't be fired so much as layers, but he does do sections that sometimes will stack. But
well, I love it. It blends in. I think a lot of people miss it because they aren't really, even when they look over there, they might think it's a plant.
It's a stump of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I really like that.
It really integrates well. What a beautiful space.
Really fun.
And it also, the movement that you've created in the plantings of the cactus is really pretty special here.
Well, the Joshua trees create their own movement. You know, they're sort of dancing there, and they've expanded their circle to dance with evolution, small evolution 8, which I appreciate. I think they've done a very good job of welcoming it, don't you?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. The contractor, you know, we're coming up to Maureen's, a couple of the sculptures of Maureen Wheeler's that we have here. And the contractor who's working on this forest pavilion project is just in love with the bighorn sheep and wants to take it home. Yeah, mountain goat, I guess, yeah. Yeah, so if it's gone someday, I'm going
we'll at least know who to go ask.
to know who's got it. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, and Maureen chose these places, right? And she clearly, given that that one is also on a little berm there, she obviously likes her animals to be up on berms looking down at us. And I think both of them work tremendously well in those locations.
Well, Maureen, for those that don't know, is a well-known local architect and has been working
multi-talented,
painter, ceramicist, has been doing some tile work lately, and she's clearly got some influenced by Betty Davenport Ford.
Oh yeah, sure.
Who's another well-known local Southern California artist, and I think what I love about them is that she reduces the surface to really just the minimal amount of information to still be.
Yes, they're much smoother than some of the sculptures. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't right this minute is not our most beautiful installation related to the construction project, but this is going to be terrific when it's done. This is a restroom building here, and given that we don't have any restrooms in this part of our garden right now, it's going to be a total godsend. Yeah, I love this one. I love the regal cat.
Well, and I love that she also plays with the scale. Like, you know, this is smaller than it should be, but it's still really powerful, and that the cat.
Yeah.
Assuming that it's more of a house cat as opposed to a wild cat, is still increased scale.
And the background of the bladder plant there is perfect for it with its yellow flowers.
Clearly watching us go by.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly, yeah. I have to tell you, though, we have had a little issue with people walking up to it. I found a whole family up there one day posing with it.
Oh no.
And I had to say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry. Could I ask you to please stay on the path?"
Yeah, not okay.
Yeah, so, but I love that one. Although my favorite of her three is the one that we'll see later, which is in the cultivar garden. That's actually my favorite, but these are all wonderful. They're wonderful.
And did every artist pick their space, or?
As far as I know, yeah. In fact, Maureen came and she did not like the space that she had picked out for the third one. And so I know that Carrie and maybe Danielle, the two of them worked very closely together and with the artist then on siting each sculpture. And they drove her all around, and it was a little bit disconcerting, but she picked the spot and it was perfect. It's a perfect spot for it. It's a berm again, which is interesting. I think there's a theme there. Yeah.
Well, and it's also you discover some of these as you go, that it's not hitting you over the head that, oh, here's the next sculpture.
And we also, you know, we really wanted the artists to be happy with where their sculptures were placed here, were exhibited here. The garden is part of the display, and we wanted each of them to be very, very happy, you know, with the actual microsite at the garden. And so we were completely happy to work with them to achieve the kind of, you know, overall presentation that they were looking for. So it was great.
Looks great.
Yep. These ferns are quite artistic, aren't they? These are ferns that are more appropriate for our climate than many ferns. And in fact, we've had a project to develop them for local cultivation.
Nice fountain.
Yeah, this one is amazing. What a sculpture.
So this is David Pacheco, who was one of our resident artists, and this is a self-portrait.
Wow.
The title is "The Walls We Built." And
I love the hair.
Yeah, the amount of detail and that every surface is textured.
Yeah, the amount of detail is just incredible.
And again, the sort of reference, even though I know it wasn't intentional, of the fact that it's a brick wall is the surface of the face.
Right, yeah.
But yet the head is this beautiful botanical treatment
Leaves.
of all leaves for every every bit of his hair.
No, it's an exquisite piece. It's just really exquisite.
Well, and it's also, I mean, the placement of it as far as that you come up to it, but you have to come into a quieter space
Yeah.
to come and actually see the piece.
And you have to be on this trail to really see it. From the back, it looks really very different. There's our accessibility ramp is right up there. And one of the things you can do is walk along it and stop and kind of observe people from a distance, quite respectful distance, I think, kind of interacting with this piece. And that's always very interesting to see.
Yes, this is definitely a piece that will stop people. And
Right. I love the gold.
the gold luster sort of breaking through the brick walls.
Right. I guess that's what it is. Yeah. Huh. It's got an amazing concept going on with the forehead there, but yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's
Yeah,
really
amazing
exquisite.
piece.
Yep. This is one of our newest, most recently redone garden areas. It's the Grafton Garden. A veteran named Mr. Grafton passed away and left us money to build a garden. So that's what this is. Yeah, I think our horticulture staff did a very nice job with it. I love this next one that we're coming to, the Ball Stack 2 by David Kitty. I love the colors of it. They just are so kinetic, I think.
And he throws a lot of the forms, like repetitive forms, and by sort of, doing this additive process, creates these really beautiful, large sculptures, but they start off as small thrown elements. And again, I know he talks about them being almost like a molecular look or a botanical look.
Well, the telophase that we may make it to is very, I mean, that's biological. Telophase is a phase of cell division.
Yeah, we have one of his large pieces outside of the museum as well, so we get to see that every single day.
That's great.
But yeah, this is pretty fabulous here.
Yeah, I would love for this one to live here permanently also. I mean, I'd love for them all to live here. So this one's gorgeous. I think it goes very well here in this location. As you can see, there's been a little bit of traffic to it again to have pictures taken with it, but
yeah, something to think about if we do this again.
Yeah, it'll be all right. So.
And it just kind of leans a little bit.
It does lean a little bit, yeah, but that's organic, isn't it?
It is.
That, yeah.
It is.
And this would have been fired all in one piece?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the balls were made separately,
Yeah,
or
so
thrown?
my understanding is he throws either the orbs or the ball forms and then starts assembling them while they're still in a greenware or unfired state.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
And then the glaze
That's fascinating.
ends up sort of falling off a little bit.
I am mystified by how an artist gets the idea to create something that's going to look like this, but I love it. I really, really love it. It's also proximate to the most recent addition to our permanent collection over there, which is Open Vessel by Kristen Marville.
I saw that when I was out visiting. It's a beautiful
just a
piece.
few years old. It hasn't been here very, very long. So.
Well, it looks like it was meant to be there.
It does look like it was meant to be there. I think it looks great. Inkwell.
Well,
That's interesting.
beautiful piece of Heidi Kreitschitz, and Heidi was really the impetus for putting this exhibition together.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
so
that. I'm
she
so glad to learn that.
She was the one who did all the organization and invited all the artists,
Oh,
and
wow.
Heidi's the founding director of the ceramic studio, and she's also a really well-known wood fire artist.
Huh.
So these pieces are actually fired in a kiln that is fueled by wood.
Wow.
And it's the ash that, when the wood burns and there's ash, the ash will fall on the pieces,
I can see that now.
and that becomes part of the glazing
And
process.
is that then a cooler fire than something that's fired?
Not
not
really.
necessarily?
It's
Okay.
just what they consider it as an atmosphere. So there's like electric is one atmosphere,
I see.
and then there's gas, and then there's wood. So there's several different firing
Interesting.
techniques, but she's best known for her wood fire work.
I like it.
And really sort of they're very gestural. I mean, she really knows how to manipulate the clay.
But like the ribs on the pen, she would have put the ribs in
Yes.
place. But
So that's not from the firing.
yeah, this is from the firing.
That's
though.
potentially from the firing from the ash settling on the piece.
Sure.
And depending on where it is in the kiln, you might get different colors of, what's next to it. Was there a piece hovering over it? So it's really an amazing
I
process.
don't know if you got our newsletter and would have read the people who worked on the installation from our side did a very nice article for our most recent newsletter, the Matilaha, and each was asked to talk about his or, well, they're all hers, her special, her favorite one.
Yes.
And one of the students, this is her favorite, one of the students who had the community education research assistantship this semester or last semester, and who worked with Heidi on installing this one. It's one of her favorite ones. I wonder if she knows that about the wood fired. I'll have to tell that to her to make sure she knows, because I know she will enjoy that.
Well, and there's also not a lot of wood firing that happens in Southern California,
Right.
air quality issues,
right,
that usually people go to the desert or Northern California to do those
To
firings.
actually do those firings.
Yeah, and they're also, like, the firings can last a week or more
Wow.
till it goes through all the steps.
Who knew? That's great. Thank you very much. I didn't know that. I'm very happy.
Glad I
to
could
learn
add to
that.
the conversation.
Let's go down there now. I think they want us to go straight, basically straight on across, because we have a number of terrific sculptures in what we call our cultivar garden here. This is a garden that was planted to celebrate cultivars out of native, what we call out of native plants, meaning that it's a selection that somebody identified as being particularly good for cultivation, either because it's very beautiful or because it's very reliable, or because it's very easy to grow or something of that nature. And so this garden is designed to kind of glorify that. And here we've got telophase coming up.
Your favorite David Kitty piece.
Well, I like it. I like them both of the ones that we have. But this one really is biological in the sense that that telophase is a phase of cell division where the chromosomes are starting to pull apart, and that's clearly what
And he definitely captures that.
what he's calling out to here. Yeah, it's really terrific.
And sort of still stays within that construction mode of the orbs that are then sort of added on, which create a whole lot more movement in this piece.
Yeah, this piece is moving, which is appropriate because telophase is a very active phase of cell division. I really like this one. I think this is Carrie's favorite one.
Yes,
too.
I think she said that
Yeah, she
when
loves it.
she was asking us to pick which one we were going to see.
I think she wants it. Yeah. And now we're coming up to Maureen's third one, Maureen Wheeler
Another
piece. The cat,
right?
yeah. And this is one that when it actually arrived here, she wasn't happy with where it was placed. And so after driving around and searching, this is the place, and it's a perfect place for it. It's exactly
Sort of resting.
where the lioness would be, is with a good vantage point, not looking at the wall, looking out.
At who's coming.
Yep, exactly.
And again, that sort of very smooth surface, but still feeling muscular.
Not shiny. The other cat, the regal cat, is shinier. This one is.
It's sort of more of a matte finish. Yeah. And also, again, that scale differential, because obviously this would be much larger in real life. Beautiful.
But I really like this one.
It's quiet.
It is. It's quiet. Yeah. But she's ready. She's ready to spring too.
Bring it to action.
if the situation requires it. And
And
now
then-
coming up to one of Janelle Lewis's,
One of several.
yeah,
Yeah, she's been really involved at AMOCA as far as resident artist, and she studied with Gary Lett, who's also in the show, because Gary used to teach at AMOCA pre-pandemic. And, you know, great things about Janelle's work is the scale is just, you know, really imposing, large, literally larger than life.
right.
And she actually sculpts these into multiple stages in order to accommodate the firings. And it's also great because each one of these has some personal reference to a story in her life. So even if you don't know the story, you could sort of imagine your own of what Rosie's up to in this picture.
Right.
But they are all inspired by something that happened during her day or in her life.
And Rosie is her daughter's name.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think Rosie is in two pieces, the upper one that tucks into the
I actually think
The
it's
waistband.
three
three
pieces.
pieces.
Yeah.
The head is another one?
Yeah, it looks like it's attached there.
Yeah.
And also, as she's really grown as an artist, I think that she's really gotten better about how to put these larger and larger pieces together.
Together, because that's something that moves her really is this large format.
Is the scale,
Yeah.
yeah, that they're bigger than her.
I've had at least one garden visitor come out and say that this is his favorite one, that he studied the fingers and the toes and the face of it, and he just fell in love with it.
She's very intense.
Yeah,
She's very intense.
including the bird on her head.
Exactly.
Or birds. Yeah,
And she clearly likes birds as we go to the next piece.
right. I love these chicken people, chicken boys.
Chicken boys, and the fact that she chose to sort of have the surface this very strong black color, and she's titled it Stonehenge Birds.
These are a riot. I just think they're really a lot of fun.
And the feet on them is pretty cool.
They're wearing shoes. Yes.
Yes, they're wearing shoes. Yeah, they're not feet. They're shoes.
No. Yeah, they're wearing shoes as Stonehenge birds would.
Of course they would.
Yeah.
And it's sitting in Pigeon Point.
Right. Perfect. It's absolutely perfect. The Janelle also had stories about them that the coyotes loved Rosie, and not because they love to sit and admire it, but because they like to use it as as if it were a
post?
fire hydrant.
Oh my!
Yes. And then we have asked her, you know, well, the Stonehenge birds are acquiring some bird droppings. Oh, that's fine. The birds love them. That's totally fine. So, all right,
That's great.
we'll go with it. Now we're going to my favorites. One of my favorites. Actually, I love them all. I think I've said my favorite about 4 times already, right? Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But asparagus makes me laugh. And especially where we have them, which is in an agave, which is in the plant family Asparagaceae, the same family as asparagus.
Combo.
Yeah.
The scale on these, the color, these are really spectacular.
These are so great. Yeah. And the
And the shoots that are coming up.
flowering stalks of these would look very much like that.
And have they flowered
These
since
have
the
not
show?
flowered.
No.
They're hot. They're warm season flowers.
Got it.
Which is one of the reasons that I want to talk to Janelle about. Can we keep these at least a while longer? Because I would love to have them move. You know, move among different clumps of flowering agaves.
Yes.
And the kids would be asked to find the asparagus. You know, so they would get the picture, and then they would have to find both the agave, learn something there about the plants, and find the asparagus, learn something about the ceramics, which I just think is a perfect combination.
Well, I'd have to say this is probably one of my favorite pieces
And
too.
apparently, according to Janelle, she didn't make them different colors on purpose. It was where they were in the kiln, and that's what she told Danielle, I think, or maybe, recently.
Yes, when you fire your ceramics, you hand them over to the kiln gods, and they have some control over.
The firing kiln,
how they complete.
Yeah, I have spent less time with this one than with others because of this, how it's around this little corner here. Although I really like it.
Yeah, and again, the ash from the firing really impacts the surface, you know, and sometimes comes out shinier. It can also be impacted by the wood that they use in the firing.
Right, right. This is a gorgeous patch, huh? These are called hummingbird sage. And it's really our only species of sage that likes a little bit of shade. Ooh, look at the swallowtail. Beautiful.
And another one of Janelle's. Relaxing in the shade.
Perfectly relaxing in the shade. And Janelle picked these spots. She wanted them to be tucked in. She wanted them to be kind of away from, you know, not right by a given path.
Sort of to discover them.
To discover them, exactly, yeah. I love it how Rabbit is white and the platypus or whatever it is on his shoulder is blue and gold. It's really quite spectacular. And this is one of our most spectacular little areas of our garden is this redwood grove. They do really well right here on Indian Hill Mesa and are healthy and happy and making beautiful, beautiful shade and a beautiful cushion for Rabbit to sit on.
Exactly. She looks like she belongs there.
Right. And again, rabbits don't have feet like that, nor hands like that, but that's all right.
Nor would there probably be a platypus.
Nor would there be a platypus sitting on her shoulder, yeah. But this is great. Is this one of the ones that's for a godchild or whatever who was born in the year of the rabbit? I forget.
I'm not sure, but I do know everyone's got there's a story for each one of these.
Yeah. This is, of course, the white rabbit, so maybe that's its story. I'm not sure. Yeah. But it's great. I really, really love Rabbit. I think it surprises people when they walk along and they look over there and they see it's a big, not just a rabbit, but it's a big rabbit.
And it's almost smiling.
Yeah. And we're coming next to Ratty, which apparently some people find creepy. I knew that it was made for a youngster in Janelle's family who was born in the year of the rat. So it's never struck me as creepy.
Because you know the
because
story.
I know the story. But you know, if you look at it over there in the again in the shade of the redwoods, I guess it does look a little creepy.
It's the teeth.
Yeah, it's probably the teeth. Yeah.
But the rat is wearing this very
pointy face.
Yes.
Also, yeah.
But wearing this really feminine, off the shoulder.
Right. Shorts.
And shorts.
And an off the shoulder top.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is an interesting combo.
It has Ratty has a cell phone in her pocket, in her back pocket. Unfortunately, you can't see that from here. It's not it may have been a real cell phone at some point, but obviously it's not. Yeah, we had to do a little discouragement of the public here from going over to see Ratty because
you can't help yourself.
Well, and they were trampling on the ferns and things like that. And
the challenges of mixing the art in.
Well, you can tell the horticulture staff, they know, but I kind of challenged them to make a path to Ratty that would go in some route that. And we may yet do that, but basically people still, if we'd made a nice trail, people would have still wanted to cut straight across to it. So
it's like water, the easiest path.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, I think Ratty looks perfect under the redwoods. Happy, nice place to kneel on the soft needles of the redwoods, and I like Ratty casually looking over her shoulder. Off into the redwoods and the other evergreens that are here in this part of our garden. That one makes me laugh, and it never struck me as scary, although it definitely creeps some people out. Okay, so here's another of my favorites. I love these. They, I love them because they're sort of anthropoid. They look like people of various sizes and shapes and colors. So they're in a garden that's devoted to the diversity of California native plants. They are a statement on the diversity of creatures with different skin tones or fur tones, whatever. I just think they're wonderful. They also have a diversity of heads.
And they're kind of having a conversation.
And they're having a conversation. It's called it's gathering, and they're clearly gathering. And then the other aspect of the story that I really love, and I was just telling the Interact students from Claremont High this today when I drove them out to volunteer for they did a very, very glamorous volunteer session today, pulling weeds. The one on that side of the trail, according to Brandon Lomax, is made of clay that he harvested from here. And so it's sort of like that one. The newest one of the group is sort of asking permission to come over and join
the conversation.
That's kind of how I think about it. I don't think they've kicked it out. They don't seem like the kind of...
Or he's leading the bunch.
He's leading them and they're heading in that direction.
Exactly. Which is what's great about the piece is it has multiple meanings.
Right. It's very lively to me.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like they are talking, conversing, sharing, and I think mainly they love being here. I have seen pictures of them in an indoor gallery and they just look kind of trapped. Whereas here, to me, they look like they're free. They're enjoying the out of doors. They love the sunlight on their little weird pinball heads. I think it's great. I love it. This is, again, one of my favorites, and this one I can, spend time with and enjoy each piece. And
well, that was one question I had, given that you get to spend more time with the work out here, is do different pieces sort of feel different to you during different times of day or weather?
Yeah, this one especially, because there are several pieces when the sun is in different angles, different of them are kind of featured
sort of pop
almost.
out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. This one at the end
is getting it. And when the sun comes up and it comes over there, the one on the other side of the trail is kind of like the
something we don't get to play with when we're exhibiting work inside.
Right. You could, but it would require a great deal of artificial lighting work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Terrell over at
and I know
Pomona.
That the artist is thrilled with this location also. And that was even before these beautiful things started coming into flower. So,
and is this garden what's the focus of this garden?
Well, again, this is the entrance to the cultivar garden.
Right.
So this is a California we call it California lilac. That's called Yankee Point. That's the cultivar name given to it. And it's supposed to have been propagated vegetatively from this plant because it has beautiful dark green leaves, as you can see, and it's low growing. And some of our California lilacs are tall, and others are kind of low growing like this. So if you want a moundy one, this is an excellent moundy one that's extremely well adapted to our climate. And what makes it perfect here is that it's not going to get too tall. They're up to their knees. They're not getting shaded out by the Yankee Point. Yeah.
Yeah, something to consider when the work was installed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of how the seasons were going to impact.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Although I'm not sure we thought that through all that thoroughly, but that's just And again, I think this was a location that really spoke to Brandon, and he thought that his pieces would look wonderful in here, and they do. Yep, they do. I'm curious as to whether the color that is, that the new one is the natural color of our Indian Hill Mesa. Indian Hill that we're walking on is basically pure clay. We installed a new irrigation system not too long ago, and we trenched all over here. There's not a single rock down there. And everywhere else that you dig in Claremont, there are Claremont potatoes. Yeah.
Yep. And then we have C.J. Jillick, who does these amazing sexual, botanical, figurative pieces. And, they're almost like, and I say this in a really good way, like a Little Shop of Horrors kind of forms. And she just really sort of puts it in your face as far as, the elements that are included and also that clearly they have the opportunity to interact when no one's around at night.
Right. I'm sure they do. Yeah. And this is another one that was so popular that people were treading over the
The path
yeah,
to
you can
get
see
to it.
the path to it. Yeah. And
Yeah,
they were also they were touching the sculpture too much.
Yeah, and her surfaces are a little more fragile.
Yeah, we really didn't want to encourage that at all, so we put up this rope. But
And for us, it's great because we've actually exhibited this piece in the museum, so it's fun to see it in a completely different environment, in its natural
yeah,
environment.
it looks great. Again, it looks just terrific. The green colors are very interesting because they're really not natural greens in the plant world. I can't think of anything that's those colors of green, and you can see that by looking around, right? It
Right.
doesn't perfectly match anything, but that causes them to just pop. You know, as they're here, that just causes them to pop.
Well, and the detail that she does of adding the little
detail.
hints of yellow
the
and, you know,
orange is just amazing.
yeah. And she does everything from really like handheld objects to things this size.
Wow. That's great. This
Yeah,
is a terrific
fun
piece.
stuff.
People love it. Just love it. In fact, I had somebody come and ask specifically for it
Where is that
at
piece?
the entrance. Yeah, where is that one? And she started describing it. And I said, you mean the one that looks somewhat sexual? And she said, yes, that
that's
one.
the one. Although a lot of plants do.
Yes,
She just pushes the envelope, to say the least.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, she's lived in Australia. She, in her studio, will have a wall of flowers, mostly, you know, pieces that look very similar to that.
Yeah.
So,
Now there's several pieces in this this outdoor gallery. When things are normal and people can gather, we have
didn't you use this as like a event
we
party
use it as an
space?
exhibit space, and we use it as a party space. Yes, a person can rent this. We have lots of weddings and things here. In fact, we can tell you that the bride and groom normally stand down at that end, and then chairs can be arranged, and you can fit 150 or so people in here.
Wow, nice.
Theater-style seating. Yeah. Another Heidi one.
Another Heidi piece.
And now I'm going to look at it now that I understand,
Now that you understand the firing.
what wood
and
firing is about. Yeah, I see that.
the title of this one is called Life on the Ranch, and she studied with a well-known artist, Don Wrights, and there's actually a place called Wrights Ranch that they also have visiting artist programs, and Don would sometimes, you know, step on his pieces, so this
I
is
see
most
that.
likely a shoe print.
Yes, I see that.
So this was clearly inspired by Life on the Ranch for Heidi.
Yeah, and this looks a little bit like something that one of the cattle on the ranch might have contributed before it got fired. I love this one, and I'm afraid it doesn't. Hello, lizard. Be careful, don't get stepped on. I'm afraid it doesn't get seen as much as it should because it's kind of tucked
behind
in here. But again, Mark chose this, and he had us put up this wall for it to serve as its background. But I love this one also.
Yeah, Mark is another resident artist. He's also taught ceramics at the studio, and this piece is sort of architectural in a way, and he talks about excavating the interiors, and it's kind of like these steps to we're not sure where.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know where it's going. Wow.
But there's clearly this pretty wonderful interior space that
Yeah.
you can use your imagination of what might be at the bottom of those sort of stair forms.
Yeah, I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and the choice of leaving sort of a natural finish on the outside, but just choosing that
That red glaze.
that sort of
orange,
red putty
orangish,
color for
putty
the
colored, yeah.
inside.
Oh, it's beautiful. I just worry that not as many people see it as should because it's just a bit hidden there. And then this is another one by Mary, the glacier lady.
And also sort of very nature inspired, definitely botanical sort of flower forms, and sort of you really get a sense of the delicacy
Right.
of how she sort of stretches and pinches the clay to get those really thin edges.
Yeah, this one is really special. And again, it looks kind of, I mean, this looks like sea life.
Yeah, some barnacles almost.
Yeah, barnacles growing on a sea fan or something like that. Yeah. It's
Yeah, but I
really-
just love these thin edges.
yeah,
Are really
the thin
just.
edges, and also the blue and the bluish and pinkish cast are
She
really
also did
terrific.
the gates in a very different style of work over at the Pomona farm. So the gates that have
Oh, yeah.
tile work on, she did that as a commission.
I'm gonna have to go look
Yeah,
at that.
go look with fresh eyes,
I
but
will
that's
look with fresh eyes. Yes.
that another area of Mary's work.
I should have realized that.
Well, it's very different. You wouldn't necessarily
Right.
have identified it
Let's
based
go
on the
that way
pieces
so
that
that you don't have to back in a dangerous way over a small bridge.
over a cliff.
Because here we have a special thing tucked into Jessica's sage garden. And then we have another, remember one of Janelle's pieces is on the other side here.
Scott Ross. Yeah, Scott was one of our visiting artists. So he spent some time in the studio making work, and his work is really, even though this is a sort of more, a smaller piece for him, his work is always a little muscular.
Yeah.
And he's got this, also wood-fired.
Oh, really?
So also
Fascinating.
known for wood-fired work. And he literally, instead of building these, he does this process when they ram clay into a wooden form that he's made.
Oh, wow.
And then he removes the wood form, and then continues to sculpt them. So that's not the end sculpture.
That's not the final. Yeah.
And then he, will rejigger the wood and make new forms. But his work is really quite beautiful, and each plane,
I really like it. I think it's one of the, I think you asked a question for which I meant to give this answer, which is that what I love about this exhibit, one of the many things I love about it, is that it's so diverse. There are pieces that are very formal art, high art, and there are other pieces that are whimsical, that are clearly just completely whimsical, and it's just fun. There's something for everybody.
Exactly.
There are people who don't get that, but they're going to get ratty.
Yeah, it's quiet.
yeah.
This is a quieter piece. It's slightly more formal concerns in art.
Right. Right. But I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's great.
he does really beautiful work.
And I'm glad to know that about the wood firing too, because I haven't really focused on that aspect of this. Does the sign say that? Yes, it does.
Natural
Wood
ash
fire.
glaze, so yeah, that's how he's describing it. There are some wood fire artists that will glaze the piece as well as put it in wood firing, but the purists believe you shouldn't do that.
You should let the wood ash,
Exactly.
the whole experience of being in that wood fired kiln do its trick.
Exactly.
I get it. I do get it. Ooh, lots of pollen coming down. Don't fall into the pond.
Don't fall into the pond. And tell us about this garden and pond.
This is Emily's magical reflecting pond, named for a sadly quite young woman who is not with us any longer. We previously it had the name of Upper Pond, but it has a better name now.
It has a better name
And
now.
we redid it not very long ago, and I don't know if you have any bodies of water at your house outdoors, but ponds are really a struggle to keep clean and tidy, and this one is no exception. But it is beautiful. People love it. We're going to replace that deck, which clearly needs to be replaced, and with a simpler platform. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And here is Nathaniel's pig, and I know that this is one of them. Nathaniel was born in the year of the pig,
Which seems to be a theme in her work.
which is definitely a theme. And so the pig sitting over there, he was originally to sit on the bench. This bench is dedicated to Goldie and Ralph Lewis, Randall's parents.
Yes.
And and so the idea was that it would sit there, but we were worried that somebody would push it and it would fall off.
Yes.
And so and Janelle likes her pieces tucked in anyways, and so the pig tucked in there seemed just absolutely perfect.
This one to
And
me
there-
is probably the best of the settings for
Do
her
you,
work.
do you see the squirrel sitting on its knee?
Yes.
Oh my!
Please capture that.
There
It's
is a squirrel
real
sitting on
squirrel, yeah.
sitting on the pig's knee. Its left knee, its left thigh. Oh my! You see, the pieces just go here, don't they? The squirrels know that.
Funny.
That's funny, and it's not bothered at all by us,
Nope.
is it? Yeah.
Very happy to be there.
Yeah, the placement is wonderful. Yeah, and for whatever reason, I think a lot of people don't notice it, which maybe is just fine. But I think it's a beautiful placement. It's got I think we put a stump over there for it.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
Yeah, but it leans back against the juniper, and it's very happy.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
That's one of her newer ones.
Is that true?
Well, because this one's 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
so
right,
that would be
yeah.
one of the newer ones.
I wonder if Nathaniel is a very much a youngster. I don't know when the year of the pig was. So here's a Gary Lett one. Tell us about this. Improv.
So Gary's been in the community for quite some time, and he's a well-known sculptor, painter. He does a lot of public art as well. He did a mural project at the Foothill Country Day School.
Oh wow.
And you know, he's taught at AMOCA. He taught Janelle for years. So he's worked closely with her, although his style is obviously very different.
Yeah.
And he's really been a mover and shaker in the regional community for quite some time now. And
That's great.
again, sort of more formal concerns, like Scott Ross, but with very different forms. And sort of, you might expect that this would be in bronze or some other material.
It could be.
So
It could be.
it's
And I like that the language about it refers to suspended animation. It looks very much like suspended animation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's definitely interested in jazz and
Yeah, improv.
improv as far
Its
as
title. Yeah.
his
And
work.
I think that the huge bush lupins make a beautiful backdrop for it.
Just a little color
Yep.
and a different form behind it.
Right. We call this our riparian trail, and it, especially when it had more shade, it was really quite lush. But we're working on it. It's always a work in progress. See, there's a little stream bed that goes through there, sort of, and it will flow when it rains hard.
Right.
It definitely will flow.
Yes, this is probably a work in progress always.
Always. Just ask the director of horticulture. He will tell you that nothing is ever done here.
No, I bet.
And if you think it's done, something happens. But we have a lot of garden areas to, to renovate. And that's just natural, it just change happens, and garden areas need to be reinvigorated. Like right here,
Yes.
needs some reinvigoration, and we'll get there.
It must be especially challenging in a drier
Yeah,
area.
it's not great, yeah. And in a dry year, it makes it extra challenging. But we got to roll with the punches, and that's one of our messages, is that California native plants roll with the punches a lot better than exotics.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's another one by Gary Lett called The Three Winds. And again, sort of putting forms together to create a really wonderful movement. And also the different surface treatments, from the sort of matte, almost bronze looking.
Yeah, the base of it looks really bronzy, as do the kind of supports of the spheres.
Exactly.
This is a California native plant called a live forever.
And do they?
They actually are very good. When we replanted this bed not too while, I forget, because I think we'd brought in irrigation or something. And basically you just yank the plants out and set them over there. And a couple weeks later you come back and you set them back over there and they grow fine. Yeah.
Reattach themselves.
Yeah, this is great, and this is a particularly adaptable cultivar of it for Hazii. Yeah. Yeah, I love this one. I love this. Gary Lett's work is.
As you walk around it, or as much as we can walk around it, it really changes form.
You sometimes wish you could, but the ones that especially are like this, off the trail, wish they could be on a spinning, slowly turning, yeah, exactly, yeah. And then we have those that, like animals of all sorts, have come to a pond. And we have a duck.
They're probably so grateful to have a pond.
Yep, could be.
And we have Kimlingo by the pond.
We have Skunky, gardener's friend.
Nice. And Kim is enamored by all sorts of animals, from birds to frogs to skunks. And she, is clearly representing, you always know what her animals are, but somehow they're also have their own personality.
Yeah, I was going to say, use exactly that word. This one's got a tremendous amount of personality. Yeah. Where are her
owl?
Oh, the owl is over there. Yes, Owlie. And there's turtles here too.
Yeah, she does a lot of turtles. Where's the turtle? Oh, there's the turtle. There you go. The turtle with turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's now out in the desert, so it'll be interesting to see if her work changes.
Right.
Because she's living in a new environment.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
But she's been studying and making all kinds of animals for years now.
Yeah, apparently she has a lot of turtles at her shop.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have turtles in this pond. In fact, there's one right there.
Ah, there you go.
These are not native turtles. They are red-eared sliders, just like that one is a red-eared slider. See the red ear on it? Yeah.
Yeah, on the adult one.
Yeah, and this is your average dime store turtle. We think that most of ours at least originated, you can see a red ear on that one there, yeah.
There you go.
Ours originated by turtles that got too large for the, I'm seeing at least 4. They got too large for the, there's one coming up from the mud below. These got too large for the home, whatever the family had it in. Or the child became bored with it, as sometimes happens, or whatever, and so they brought them to us, which we're not thrilled about, but here they are.
Actually, there was a story on the way over here today about them dredging some shipping canals, and they're sucking up the mud and sucking up the turtles.
The turtles, yeah.
And that some regulations were released that allow them to do it during mating season.
Oh my, wow.
This is all on the East Coast.
Right, native must be a native turtle.
Yep.
Because these we have cleaned out this pond at least once in the 15 years that I've been here. And we got a lot of the turtles out. I don't know what we did with them, but they came right back. This has just been a terrific afternoon here, Beth Ann. Thank you so much. I've really learned a lot, and I'm glad that the pieces are here for yet another month and 3 weeks or so that I get a chance to enjoy them, both without knowing very much about them and now knowing more about them. So I really do appreciate that.
This was lovely to see them in a natural habitat and to learn more about the botanical gardens. And
good.
Thank you. This was great fun.
Absolutely, it was terrific. This has been a wonderful collaboration with AMOCA, and I hope we can do it again.
Me too.
Absolutely. Look at the light on Rising Peace over there in the oval, the origami sculpture. Isn't that
beautiful?
Beautiful. The low light in the afternoon sometimes hits it just right and lights it up. Yeah. That's a gorgeous thing. I'm glad that we got to keep one of those.